Hello and a very warm welcome to Matchpoint, CCTV's new program that brings you the African sports stories that matter every Friday. I'm Mahia Mutwa. Let's kick things off with a highlight of today's show. Moment of true, why the Kenya Rugby Sevens coach is calling it a day. We talk to the only African to be crowned World Footballer of the Year. Punching through the glass ceiling, the rise of DR Congo's only female boxing referee. Welcome to Matchpoint. We kick things off with rugby. This weekend sees Africa's leg of the World 7 Series take place in South Africa's Port Elizabeth. Kenya's troubles went from bad to worse this week as their coach Paul True announced that he would be stepping down after the weekend engagement. And in an exclusive interview, True told our reporter Dan Williams that his players owe him big, although he also has a warning for Kenyan rugby.
Moving on. Paul True sent shockwaves through Kenya rugby after announcing he would step down as Sevens coach after the Port Elizabeth leg of the World 7 Series. He departs 1 year into a 3-year deal and will now miss out on the chance to take the side to the Rio Olympics. But he says it was just time for a change.
I think it's a personal disappointment because I'm not the type of person who will walk away from things, and so I think in that sense, I'm a bit disappointed in the fact that I couldn't see it through. But I'm also sure. I also need another challenge in my life. I need to keep growing. I need to keep developing, and hopefully, this is also going to be the catalyst and the start for me, to better and bigger things.
Kenya has struggled in the World 7 Series this season and sit in 14th spot on the log. The campaign was not helped by a player pay dispute that robbed True of his strongest side. And he admits that situation contributed to his decision to leave.
When everything changed after the the players went on strike, they weren't paid, and also obviously their contracts were cancelled. It really changed the dynamics of the team. We had to put together almost like a team within a short space of time to take to the Gold Coast, and also these guys that you see here, they've signed their contracts now. These are the guys that we're going to take forward. But it was a bit of a challenge.
Well, Kenya don't have time to dwell on their situation. They have the third leg of the World 7 Series to prepare for, and Paul True expects a big reaction from his players.
I think it's going to be payback for them this weekend. For me personally, they need to give me something back, and they're fully aware of that. I think they were, like I said, they took it a bit difficult and a bit hard this past week when I spoke to the team. But they're also fully aware that they have so much potential. We are giving points away. We are making all the mistakes in the game, and they know if they can put it together, this weekend, any tournament that they're gonna play, they definitely will start winning, games. They will start winning tournaments, and they can become a world, contender.
True is now focused on a career change and a switch to 15-man rugby. He admits it will be a challenge. As for Kenya, he has this warning.
There is the danger, that the team might, fall behind, and especially even with teams like Namibia and Zimbabwe, also part of the regional qualifier. That if we're not going to get our ducks in a row, that we might qualify for the Olympics, and that will be sad to see. There are so much talent, within the country, and I'm sure if they can get their things in order, they can definitely become a world force, to be reckoned with.
That True's reign did not end in more glory will be a sore point for all concerned. He's now moved on. Time will tell if Kenyan rugby can follow suit. Dan Williams, CCTV, Port Elizabeth, South Africa.
Right there, so you have it. After this weekend, Paul True steps down as Kenya's Sevens coach. Is a bit of a look back now. True becomes the latest name to seemingly go through the rotating door that is the Kenya Rugby Sevens head coach position. Here is a brief history of the men that have held that position since 2007. 7 years ago, former player Benjamin Ayimba took over as head coach of the team and kicked off one of the best runs that they've ever had. In 2009, the team made it all the way to the semi-finals of the 5th edition of the Rugby Sevens World Cup. Ayimba enjoyed a lengthy stint by today's standards, lasting all the way to 2011 when he was replaced by his former teammate Mitch Ochola. Ochola was out the door just 1 year later to be replaced by Englishman Mike Friday, who changed many aspects of how the team was run. The squad's best result was going all the way to the finals of the Wellington Sevens in 2013, but Friday was soon gone as well to be replaced by True, whose time in charge ran from November 2013 to this weekend's Port Elizabeth leg. Well, our reporter Dan Williams has more now from Port Elizabeth as Africa's two top teams prepare for action.
Well, this leg of the World Sevens Series here in Port Elizabeth promises to be fascinating for both Kenya and South Africa, but for very different reasons. For South Africa, it's all about maintaining the momentum built up after that series win last weekend in Dubai. And the Commonwealth Games gold medal winners will be hungry for success here in front of their home fans. And of course, Port Elizabeth is a place they like coming to, having won here last year. Now, they've hired a psychologist in order to get them back down to what they say would be ground zero, to forget all the success that they've managed this year and especially last weekend, and get the players hungry again for further success here now. And it really would end the season, end the year on a high as they look to claim their first series win overall since 2009. But as for Kenya, well, their season imploded before it began over the player bonuses row, of course, which derailed their hopes in Australia, and that continued, of course, into Dubai. And they really sit now at the wrong end of the table. And for their coach, Paul True, well, clearly the whole situation has become too much as he now stands down after this leg here in Port Elizabeth. And there are real question marks now over the future of Kenya and to which direction they can go in. So this weekend will be hugely important for them as they look to finish at least Paul True's reign on a high and show that whoever the new incoming coach is as to the qualities that exist in that team. So in a hugely important weekend, as I say, for Kenya, but still for very different reasons. It's going to be a cracking weekend, it has to be said here. A number of different concerns and news lines as well with New Zealand. Will the real New Zealand also stand up this weekend? So it should be a real mouth-watering prospect here in Port Elizabeth.
Well, as we've heard there, this season isn't exactly going according to plan for Kenya. Still, that poor performance is not putting off young rugby hopefuls from giving it their all, as Celestine Caronay now reports.
Meet 11-year-old Brian Ingati, an aspiring professional rugby player and clearly also a natural leader. Brian and his team are part of the Standard Chartered Impala Rugby Academy.
I started playing rugby because I love it when I watch people on television.
One of the key problems in the Kenyan game you find is that players are not exposed to the game early enough. So you find some players at the senior level who maybe can't pass properly or lack some basic skills. Now the academy enables us to try and correct that.
The academy admits kids as young as 7. They are all grouped according to their age. For Brian, it is about joining some of his national heroes on the field.
Collins Njera, Patrick's.
He may still have a long way to go, but there is no denying the talents there. For 16-year-old Zablon Amenya, the dream is that much closer. Not only the dream of professional rugby, but also of education.
Before I joined this rugby, I was somehow struggling to pay my fee. So after I joined the club and I was able to play on the field, and then I shined, and then I was picked to be a member of the club. So they paid my fee.
Zablon's dream of playing professional rugby started at an early age. His hero is Kenya's top try scorer, Collins Injera.
Yeah, my father gave me all the support, but at first, before they started paying my fee, he was like, it will destroy your life, it will destroy your future. So, but as I continued playing and he saw me being successful, he started paying my fee. Then he started supporting. Now he even supports me in some things, like he buys me clothes, these jerseys to play the game. Yeah.
The ultimate goal for many of Impala Rugby Academy trainees is to play for the club's senior team, or maybe even go one better and play for the national team, following the footsteps of Samson Onsomu, who is currently on his maiden tour with the Kenya national sevens team.
Samson is part of the coaching staff in this academy. So when the kids will be listening to him, he comes back to coach them. He won't just be giving them like myths. He'll be telling them what has happened to him. So as they'll be listening to him, they'll believe if that's what he did, he's now playing the national team, none of them will refuse.
Kenya's current team may not be performing very well this season, but there is still hope for the team, with young players like these cheering them on and standing in the wings to one day wear the red and black. Celestine Karonei, CCTV, in Nairobi.
Right, let's take a short break here on Match Point, but there's plenty more when we come back, including an exclusive interview with the only African to be crowned World Footballer of the Year. Welcome back. Now the Club World Cup swings back into action on Saturday in Morocco, with two quarterfinals being played in Rabat. CAF Champions League winners EF Sétif, CONCACAF Champions League winners Cruz Azul, and Asian Football Confederation winners Western Sydney Wanderers all enter the competition at this phase. They join Oceania Champions League winners Auckland City, who won their playoff match on Wednesday. The New Zealanders beat Maghreb Tetouan on penalties to enter the quarterfinals. African champions Sétif of Algeria held training on Thursday for their tournament opener. They face Auckland FC before Cruz Azul and the Western Sydney Wanderers play their quarterfinal at the same venue. Now, for those of you who know your international football players, you'll definitely recognize the name George Weah. He's known as Ambassador George Weah in Liberia, his home country. He's a national hero and an aspiring politician. He also sits on the Players Committee at FIFA. Angelo Coppola spent some time with him at his home in Monrovia, where the former World Footballer of the Year shared his views about the sport.
Now, in terms of technology, we've seen the invisible tape or spray on the ground. We've seen the gold line technology, all those changes. How involved are you and your committee in these rules and these changes in technology?
Everything we talk about, goes to the executive committee, and they, finalize it. And then from there, it passes on to the judicial committee, and then they make it out of law. So no matter what you see, that we're part of it. We go in the football committee. We have a technical group, we sit together, we discuss how the game can be better. So some of this goal line and those sprays you see, it could be in our committee, and then a referee comes and give his opinion on a line, before. And I think it's good also to develop the game, to make the game good, great, faster.
Your political career at the moment is focused on transparency and also on accountability and the fight against corruption. Do you think FIFA is doing enough when it comes to transparency, corporate governance, and fighting corruption?
I want to believe so, and whatever the case may be, I think FIFA have done so well. FIFA have been transparent. The fact that people have opinion, about FIFA, it doesn't mean that they're not doing what they have to do for good governance and or accountability. FIFA always been that organization that give account. So that in every institution there will be good people, there will be bad people. But again, the bad people will be judged and the good people will be judged.
Now, George, You were super fit when you were playing at your top level of football. What have you been doing since then? I mean, politics takes up a lot of your time, obviously, campaigning does too, but what do you do to stay fit and in shape?
Is that I wake up in the morning, me and my securities, you can see we work out, we run a little bit, and every Saturday we go to the land to play beach volley. And when I was in Brazil for the World Cup, every morning I play and every evening I play. And it was fun. So that I came here and I built a little sandy area where we play beach volley because it's non-contact. So that's what we do. But we miss training, we miss running, we miss playing. And this is one of the beautiful games that ever existed. It's football, soccer. We miss it a lot. Every Saturday we're on the field playing. Every Sunday we're on the field. We organize little games in our community, but the order has been lost. And we're just hoping that the Ebola will go away, and then we'll go back again. But again, life for us changed a lot. Because we're used to our culture, embracing, shaking hands and being together. But today Ebola have taken over everything. So we're just praying and hoping. We are together, we're in the fight against Ebola, and we know that this too shall pass, and we are hopeful.
Our CCTV's Angelo Coppola sitting down with the legend that is George Weah in Monrovia. Moving on, Uganda is looking to develop the sport of beach soccer with the help of the World Football Governing Body FIFA. The country is pioneering the sport's growth in the region. Leon Sinyange tells us about what progress has so far been realized.
Uganda's passion for soccer is not just on the pitch, but it has also moved to the beachfront. With arguably the most exciting league in East Africa, Uganda is taking beach soccer to the higher level. The sport that was introduced here just about 5 years ago has gained popularity, and that has grown from strength to strength. Universities and corporate companies have formed leagues. The local association is planning on involving secondary schools too. Uganda's Beach Soccer Association is also setting the sights on establishing a strong national side. The development of beach soccer in countries like Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire and Nigeria has helped to increase the sports profile in Africa. Officials here admit there is still much work to be done if Uganda is to become a top contender. To further boost beach soccer, FIFA officials are coming to Uganda for a third time to develop coaching and player skills. Uganda will make its debut at next year's Africa Beach Soccer Championships, and they'll be hoping for some good results against their already established competitors. Leon Sinyange, CCTV, Kampala.
To North Africa now, where Cairo is set to host an American football game on Saturday, the first of its kind ever. Egypt and Morocco will be the two teams featuring in the decisive game. The winner will qualify to the World Championship in Stockholm, Sweden. Adel El Mahrouki has more.
It will be the first officially sanctioned American football game here in Africa. And the International Federation of American Football is very excited about Saturday's game. It hopes the match will bring in more fans to the game from this continent. The winner on Saturday will qualify to the 2015 World Championship in Stockholm, Sweden. Egypt has been preparing well in advance for this crucial match. Both teams are young, but Morocco has an advantage. It has players in the French league. Whatever the outcome, it's a historic step for the development of American football here in Africa. Adel Mahroui, CCTV, Cairo.
Right, it's time for another quick breather here, coming up when we return. Punching through the glass ceiling, the rise of DR Congo's only female boxing referee.
Sports Scene, the heart and soul of sport.
Right, welcome back to Matchpoint. So at the moment, organizers in Equatorial Guinea are in a race against time to prepare for the African Nations Cup in just around 1 month's time. This should be an interesting development considering one of the venues has the capacity to host just 5,000 people. So for this week's Matchpoint Top 5 segment, we take a look at the biggest stadiums on the continent by capacity. Now at number 5 is the Mohammed V Stadium in Casablanca. This 67,000-seater home of Raja Casablanca was opened back in 1955 and is named after the former Sultan and King of Morocco. And number 4 is the impressive Cairo International Stadium. It may be only the 69th largest stadium in the world, but this venue can hold up to 75,000 spectators. It once even held a record 120,000 football fans during the Cairo derby between Zamalek and Al Ahly. The third stadium on our list is the Stade des Martyrs, or the Stadium of Martyrs in the Democratic Republic of Congo. This stadium has an official capacity of 80,000. It took 6 years to construct from breaking ground to opening at a cost of nearly $38 million. The Borg El Arab Stadium is Egypt's second entrant on this list. This venue holds just 6,000 more than the Stadium of Martyrs, but is significantly bigger. It is the 11th largest football stadium in the world and is so big that the fence around the venue is 3 kilometers long. So to find the biggest stadium in Africa, you'd have to travel over 6,000 kilometers south of Egypt to South Africa. There you'll find the massive FNB Stadium, also known as the Calabash, or more commonly, Soccer City. Soccer City has hosted everything from music concerts to Mandela's funeral to the World Cup final. This stadium's official capacity is 94,736, but the highest recorded attendance was not for a football match, but rather a rugby tri-nations fixture between South Africa and New Zealand, where 94,713 people showed up. Moving on, boxing is a male-dominated sport in almost all aspects of the game. But in the Democratic Republic of Congo, one woman is helping to change such perceptions. She is among the first female boxing referees on the continent. Carol Oyola has her story.
Wivin Shidibi never planned to go into boxing. For the ex-wife of a famous boxer in Democratic Republic of Congo, it was jealousy that pushed her into the ring as a way of keeping an eye on her husband.
I was angry with my husband. Every time he'd finished boxing, he'd disappear with other women. I never saw him, so we had a fight and I went home to my parents. And because I was so angry, I told myself that I have to take up boxing. That's how it happened.
But she didn't last long in the ring because with only a handful of women boxers in the DRC, she hardly had any rivals in her category. That's when she decided to train to become a referee, the only woman to take on this role in the country.
Some people thought I'd only referee women's matches, but then they saw that I also refereed over men. Besides, I don't enjoy refereeing women. I feel like they don't do anything. But I also enjoy men's fights. That's true. People are happy with me, and some want to be like me.
One of her fans is a former landlord who's seen how she's had to balance two very different roles in her life.
Ménagère et arbitre.
A housewife and a referee. She has all the qualities needed to be a good boxing referee. She's confident and firm. She manages the fights very well.
Elle dirige bien le combat.
The money she earns from refereeing often isn't enough for this mother of four to make ends meet. She's only paid for professional matches. They bring in between $30 to $80 a time. Despite the hardships, she is proud of the career she has forged for herself and wouldn't have it any other way. Carol Oyola, CCTV.
Okay, let's now take a look through some other stories from across the continent in our Africa in 60 Seconds roundup. Sailing takes center stage in India with 17 teams taking part in the 2014 Admirals Cup Sailing Regatta. Africa is represented by both South Africa and Egypt in the event that began on Thursday. The teams compete in a 3-day challenge which draws to a close on Saturday. The draws of the preliminary stages of next year's CAF Champions League and Confederations Cup will take place on December the 22nd in Cairo. Algeria's ES Sétif are the defending champions of this year's Champions League, having beaten AS Vita of DR Congo, while Egyptian side Al Ahly won the Confederations Cup against Serie Sport of Côte d'Ivoire. Both tournaments will start after the Super Cup, which pits Sétif and Al Ahly in February. Finally, he may be injured, but JP Duminy will have a role to play for South African cricket in coming days. Duminy was this week elected the president of the South African Cricketers Association. The position is subject to a vote and is settled by cricket players from South Africa. Now to cycling, and just over a year ago, Daryl Impey was celebrating becoming the first South African to wear the coveted yellow jersey of the Tour de France. But that success was short-lived after he tested positive for a banned substance. He's since cleared his name of those doping charges, but he admits the whole saga left him angry, as Dan Williams now reports.
If there is one person who knows about the highs and lows of sport, it is cyclist Daryl Impey. Last year, he became the first South African leader of the Tour de France. But in July, he suddenly found himself at the centre of a doping scandal when he tested positive for the banned substance probenecid.
I was completely shocked. I actually thought it was somebody else. I thought they might have messed up the numbers or something like that, because it was something I'd never even heard of. So I was really shocked, and obviously it was a massive disappointment, because the Tour de France is right around the corner, and I was really looking forward to going to the race with good conditions. So from that point, it was we were devastated.
Impey's world suddenly came crashing down. He lost his place on the tour and had his sponsorships frozen.
Our whole family's income's based around it, so it was pretty tough to accept and to think, gee, well, what's happening here? But it's definitely a time in your life where you everything gets pushed to the limit, and you're trying to find out where this could have come from. It's a tough situation to be in.
A month later, Impey was in the clear. The doping charges were dropped after authorities accepted his explanation that he was the victim of cross-contamination.
I was relieved that I could solve everything, and everything was sorted out between the team, me, and that I could race again. But really angry the way things were handled. It was a tough situation to be in, number one, but it's actually a bad system where you are guilty until proven innocent. It's the wrong way around. So it's something that you never want to have to go through.
Despite months in limbo, Impey made a winning return to action, claiming the Tour of Alberta.
I still remember those days, and I think, well, every opportunity that I got on the bike, there was a little sprint bonus, there was something to get along every day, and I thought, well, why not, go for it. And I think it all came together, and all this frustration and everything meshed together, and I did a great sprint and won the race, which is fantastic.
It has clearly been a roller coaster 18 months or so for Impey, but his focus is now very much on the future as he looks to once again return to the very top of his sport.
I still think there's a Tour de France stage win. That's still on the big goals, and then obviously Rio in 2016 is a big goal. It's time to make some new history, and hopefully I can do that.
Impey hopes to once again start making headlines in 2015, but this time round for all the right reasons. Dan Williams, CCTV, Johannesburg, South Africa.
Right, that's where we'll leave off this week's edition of Matchpoint. Remember, we'd love to hear from you. Any feedback you have for us, you can email to matchpoint@cctv.com. We're also on social media. The Facebook page is CCTV Africa. The Twitter handle is @CCTV News Africa. Thanks for watching. I'm Mahia Mutua. We, as always, leave you with some images from the sporting highlights this past week.
Giving chase is Zach Test, but he won't catch.